I wanted to show you guys what I'm currently using for my sport photography events. So those of you that have followed the channel for a while, you know that I'm a contributor with UTR, which stands for the Universal Tennis Rating. So they contract me out to work their events, and I usually do all of their tennis events here in Texas, but recently they asked me to do a pickleball event. Now, if you don't know what pickleball is a recent, well, I don't want to say recent, but it's recently become very popular here in the US, and I guess worldwide. Kind of like tennis on a very shrunken court with a paddle, and the best way to describe it is like a wiffle ball type. You can play singles, doubles. It's really a lot of fun. I didn't know much about it until this event, but anyways, you can check pickleball out online or on your own. But I went and worked a professional pickleball event and took photos for UTR. Spoiler alert, the gear that I used on the pickleball shoot is identical to the gear that I use when I work the tennis events. So first off, let's talk about the camera that I use. So the camera body that I use, it's no surprise, I'm actually shooting on it. It is the Sony a7 IV. This is a Sony a7 III. It looks very similar to an a7 IV. It's a little bit thinner, but I just wanted to hold it up for comparison's sake. If you were to ask me what is the best camera for photo and video in a hybrid form, it's the a7 IV all day. I use it for both video and photo work. You know, is it the best Sony mirrorless camera for photography? I don't know. I love it. That camera body does all the photography work, and I'm actually doing some videography work with it this weekend for UTR. That camera body is my favorite. It does it all. If money were no object, sure, I could have a Sony FX3 and then a Sony a7R5, one for photography, one for videography. I like to just be able to do them both with one camera body, and then I have this backup if something goes wrong with the a7 IV. So therefore, I have the a7 IV. Therefore, I have the okay. Anyways, the main lens that I use is the Sony G Master 70-200 f2.8 Mark. The Mark II is supposedly lighter and the autofocus is a little bit better, quote unquote, but the Mark I is fantastic. The image quality, unbelievable. Sony G Master lenses, very expensive, but they're pretty much the gold standard for Sony cameras. This thing was expensive. You know, I looked at it as an investment because once I started getting contracted out and paid for my photography, I realized that, like, hey, this is not a hobby anymore. I need to invest in it like it's a business. Therefore, I bought once and cried once and bought the Sony 70-200 G Master. It's a very expensive lens. It is a little bit discounted now since the Mark II is out. The Mark I is still a fantastic lens, but it really hurts your pocketbook. This lens is my primary one for both tennis and pickleball. If I were doing like football, I might need something a little bit more, something that could shoot in a little bit more just because it's a lot bigger football field. On a tennis court, this is plenty, and I'm able to move around the court, pickleball and tennis, and get close in. I can back up. It's just a fantastic lens. This lens I use probably 80 to 90% of the time when I'm shooting sport photography. The second lens I use is the Sigma 24-70. I use this one probably 20% of the time because you're not able to get those really close-up punched-in shots with this focal range. But this is cool if I want to get some wider shots of like the court or maybe the entire match going on and not just punched into one specific player. I'll use the 24-70. I kind of do it just for, you know, to mix it up and get a few different focal ranges. It's probably 20% tops that I use this for sport photography. This is the Sigma version. This is not the Sony G Master. This was actually the very first lens I got when I got my a7 III. I plan to invest, I use that word invest, not buy, but invest in the Sony G Master 24-70. Let me explain that a little bit. This is a fantastic lens. Sigma makes great lenses at a fraction of the cost of the Sony G Master. However, since I am a working photographer, It is just my decision to invest in the best gear that I possibly can. So when I bought this lens, I was a hobbyist. It was for me. I decided to get this lens instead of the G Master to save money because it was literally almost $1,000 less. I plan to eventually invest in the Sony G Master 24-70 because I am now a professional paid photographer and I feel like I owe it to my clients and my work to just get the best gear possible. Is there much of a difference between the Sigma Art series and the Sony G Master series? I mean, I know that I can slightly tell the difference from photo shot on the G Master compared to photo shot on the Sigma. This is still an awesome lens. The picture quality and video quality is still fantastic, but I would like to streamline it, get top of the line gear since I am a working photographer. You'll see this question a lot. Should I get the Sigma lens for my Sony and save money, or should I go all out and get the G Master? My opinion is, if you are a hobbyist, no matter how serious you are, if you're not being paid to take photos for people, I would recommend the Sigma because you're going to save quite a bit of money and still get incredible results. You know, if you're posting to your social media, you're probably not going to be able to tell the difference between these lenses. You know, if you do the occasional photo shoot for a friend, you're not going to be able to really tell the difference. But if you start getting hired to do work for like companies, things beyond social media, you will begin to tell a little bit of a difference in quality. At that point, I believe you need to invest in the Sony G Master lenses. They are expensive, but again, it's like an investment into your business. So that is my opinion on the whole Sigma versus Sony. Do you spend the money for the G Master? Do you get the Sigma and save? Can you tell a difference? Blah, blah, blah. Still a great lens, but if you're a working photographer, invest in the top of the line gear. And that's really it. These are the two main lenses I use. That's the camera body that I use. It's the Sony a7 IV paired with the Sigma 70-200 G Master f2.8, and occasionally I'll throw in the 24-70. The 70-200 just allows you to get so many different focal ranges that I don't really need to change it. It's great. This is my favorite lens for sport photography. I love it. I love this thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.